And then we realized that, hey, there's this thing that people in big country always do, like they fucked up in one state, right? Then they can move to another state and start over, Yeah. Like, for example, your Logan Paul, and then he do some controversial vlog stuff, right? And then after a while, right, people can forgive him. He like kind of start a new life and kind of thing. But then when you're stuck in Singapore, right, you cannot really move anywhere, You're like basically stuck lah. So how do you like kind of like navigate relations in a way that, you are at peace with everybody? Yeah.
I think, okay, two things. I would say you can't.
Right.
Because we're all different. So for every person that will like you for being outgoing, there was someone who will find you annoying. For everyone who will like you for being direct, there was someone who will think you're obnoxious. For so you can't please everyone, but you must be content with that. And I think the older you get, the smaller your social circle becomes, because the less patient you become, the less inclined you are to please everyone.
Yes.
You take it as but then you limit the amount that you're exposed to different people, right? You don't attend this dinner party because you know that person that winds you up is there, therefore you just don't bother going. It's easier not to go, right? But
I started to do that already.
Oh, you see? The second thing is, I think the concept of just jumping state is very unrealistic. If Logan Paul could do it because he's worth 100 million, so be it. But I think if you are the kind of person that is creating enough tension to have to relocate, then you're problematic. I think conflict management is a major, major lesson in life. And it's a learning curve, and it's not something I've always got right. I think I learned it very quickly when I started working for clubs in London, not to step out. So you leave university where you're a bit cocky, you come in, and then I realized there are guys that could really hurt me if I stepped out of line in the real world. There are people that live in the shadows that you just wouldn't ever want to come across. So I learned very quickly about my limitations. I might be a 6'2" guy here, but in London, I'm
everybody's 6'2".
So I think it's an amazing question, Leonard, but it's a very difficult one to answer, because you will face conflict. You'll face people that annoy you. You'll face people running out the wrong way. And one thing I can say that I've unfortunately only learned through bad experience or making bad decisions is it's seldom worth it.
Yeah.
Arguments to an extreme are seldom worth it. And I've actually got halfway through arguments and realized I'm wrong. So reflection is a great tool. I've said things I regret. I've snapped before, and now 9 times out of 10 I would prefer to just walk away than engage. So you get business relationships, you get other relationships in life, you get previous partners that hasn't always gone to play. I've luckily never had to relocate because of such a thing, but I think the older you get, the less fire you have to engage. If you see that something is taking you off course, just walk away. I think pride is one of the most negative human traits. And it's pride that leads us into these. The inability to accept you're wrong, or the insistence to be right. It's also just as easy to shut down and say, this is not worth my time. Or this is going to go somewhere bad. I think it's best to walk away. And that's I wish I'd known that 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Same. I agree. Last time I was like, hey, fuck it, man. But I was just like, you know what? Not worth it.
It's good to have standards, but people misunderstand the word principles, where they feel that I must be this person, I must fight for this, right? And you see it on the internet in the comment section on every day of the week, right? Two strangers fighting.
Warriors.
And it's at core, it's embarrassing.
I call it engagement. Viral, man.
Yeah, for you it works. But conflict management is something that I think, honestly, I can't give you any advice. I think it's just something you learn with experience. And one day you wake up and you think that argument was completely stupid, or in my case, I was actually very wrong. And that has now allowed me to take a step back and ask myself, have I analyzed everything before I engage this? Which leads me into far less. The second thing is, I had a child, which has recalibrated my entire mindset to what is important and what's not. I don't need to.
I heard a lot of people say that.
Oh, I don't need to win an argument with a stranger, or I don't need to be right, or I don't need to have a debate. I can just go home and make her giggle, and it makes my whole day extremely correct. So one thing that I'm very lucky with my co-founders, we tend to joke a lot. we have a lot of humor around the office, and they're very serious times, but majority is humor. And I feel that I laugh probably 60% of the day. And in doing so, it detracts. Now, when it's serious. But because I have a respect for his brain capacity, because I understand that in many ways he's more cerebral than I am, it leads me to take a step back. And if he says certain things, I just accept it.
Trust.
I think, yes, mutually earned trust. And I think 10 years ago, I would have challenged more because I wouldn't have got to this. He knows best. And it leads to a comfort. Whereas if he says this, we're in a good place.
Yeah.
And trusting someone else's expertise is actually the most rewarding thing. As someone else said, I can't coin this, but someone else says, you don't hire experts and then tell them what to do.
Yeah, I heard this before also.
So you go and do that, then you'll be miserable your whole life. So I think not something I can give you a solid answer to, sadly, because I've made this mistake many times. I've been quite hot-headed and I've been super direct with people, and it hasn't always been beneficial. But I think the older I get, and as my priorities change, I realize that the desire to be right isn't there.
Correct. I think you kind of answered the question in 3 parts. Like, first, the desire to be right, is no longer there, because if I'm right, I know I'm right. That's it, right? I don't need to tell you that I'm right, That's it, number one. And secondly, right, this brings me great joy, right, to find out that this also happened to you, right? Is that when you're arguing with someone halfway, then you realize halfway, hey, shit, actually I'm wrong, you're right, your idea is actually better. Fuck, let's do it. Then, initially I want to use my idea, right? But you have an idea that can be better. Because this happens together with my teammate that's like doing this revelry thing with me, Harvey. He's also like fucking smart. And then sometimes halfway arguing, right? Then I realized, hey shit, actually your idea is better. And then we diverted our trajectory to like something better because of whatever he said. Yeah, that's also another great answer. And then the last thing is like probably because of the fact that as we are older, our priorities shift, and then our fire lies somewhere else. I wouldn't say our fire died, but our fire is somewhere else, towards our family, towards like our succession plan, etc., etc. That all these are become pointless really.
I'm also at a stage in my life which ironically I wish had come earlier, where I have a hunger for knowledge far greater than I did 20 years ago. Meaning, from social interactions, I learn a lot more. From people's experiences, what's it been like? How did you do this? What are you doing?
Yeah.
John Langan moved to Genting to live alongside me in Malaysia. I remember having a disagreement with him on his very first day. And then afterwards, the next 3 months were arguably my most enjoyable there. And I spent so much time with John, and I learned so much because he's got a marketing mind that is so far advanced to anyone else I've ever met.
Yeah. Crazy.
So smart, so funny, so gifted in ideas. And it made me, to this day, regret that argument we had on the first day, because I gained so much from John in the 3 months afterwards that I would have betrayed on that first day. And now I got so excited to show him my machine and get him to try my food, because I was like, John, what do you think? What do you think can happen? And starting your own thing is very humbling, because you cannot design for yourself. I cannot design what Joe would like, because then I have one customer.
Yeah.
So you when you start canvassing hundreds of people for their feedback, you will be kicked down. Someone will say, hey, I don't like this. This is not so good. This is not so great. I don't like the look of this. And then 3 years later, you get to what we have, which is the combination of many, 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 many opinions, right? If I had been combative, I would have just discounted everyone else's opinion. I would have launched something that suited me, but X million Singaporeans may have hated. So it is the combination of being humble and realizing that you cannot do. It's not even you can do everything. There's so limiting amount you can do on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most amazing thing. And that's why my mindset is different now, because whatever you're telling me, you're right. I have the choice to discount what I want to discount, but I'm inevitably going to learn something. From even the most simple interaction, I'm going to learn something, because everyone is a potential customer. Everyone is a potential feedback. And oddly enough, everyone is actually a potential friend at some stage. You don't know. You could have the most in common with someone.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd known this 20 years ago, man.
But actually, I think it's best if you know this now, not 20 years ago. You know why? Because when you're younger, right, maybe you're more naive, right? So you believe everybody.
True.
Right. But now you know who to believe, That's why you can adopt the right principles. Yeah. I remember when I was like 20 plus, when I was in polytechnic, before university, before army, right? And then we are doing project work. And then I see some other team, they are doing project works, right? So they are like adopting ideas of their friends that doesn't work. But because this is my friend, I believe my friend, then it just results in a freaking disaster. Yeah. So I'm glad, we adopt this kind of mindset when we are older rather than younger, lah. Because we can be a little bit more selective and smarter with the...
True. You can spot a fraud much easier.
Yeah.